All right, welcome back to ABA Exam Review and the continuation of our RBT Practice Exam series. Today we're continuing with another set of questions that we'll go through together and break down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shoutout. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A behavior technician is teaching a client to make their bed using a task analysis. The technician provides full physical prompts for the first step, pulling sheets up, but immediately fades to gestural prompts for subsequent steps. As the client masters steps, the technician gradually reduces the prompt level across all steps. This is an example of what? All right, so let's think about this. We have a scenario where a task analysis has been formed to form this task chain, and that's what's being used to teach the client to make their bed. Now, what we know is the technician is providing a full physical prompt for the first step. So if we're providing a full physical prompt for the first step, can it be forward chaining? Well, not necessarily, because of forward chaining, we're expecting the client to do that first step independently. Currently, we are prompting all the way through. We are prompting the first step, and we're fading prompts for additional steps. And as steps are mastered, prompt levels are reduced across all steps. So it's almost a total task chain system in the way that all these steps are being prompted and taught at the same time. So if that's the case, what is this an example of? Is it a shaping? Well, it's not shaping because we're not looking at approximations of behavior. Remember, shaping requires reinforcing approximations. It isn't forward chaining for all the reasons we just discussed. It is a prompt hierarchy. Why? Well, we're going from a full physical prompt down to a gestural prompt and then reducing them as we go. The prompt hierarchy just means the level of prompting in terms of intrusiveness. A full physical prompt will be more intrusive than a gestural prompt. And that's the hierarchy we follow as we fade in and out prompts. And then D, least to most prompting. Well, we started with the most intrusive, so of course it's not going to be least to most prompting. Overall, this is an example of the prompt hierarchy. An analyst is evaluating a new classroom protocol. During the first week, the analyst notices the teaching staff are providing more frequent praise and delivering fewer reprimands than in previous weeks. However, after the analyst stops observing sessions in person, teachers stop implementing the protocol as frequently. Which of the following best explains the change in staff behavior? Okay, this is a more challenging question, so let's think about it. We're looking at the change in staff behavior. We always want to focus on what the question is asking about. Now, how is that staff behavior changing? We know we have an analyst who's in the classroom, and during that first week, the analyst sees the teaching staff are giving frequent praise and fewer reprimands. Okay, however, when the analyst stops observing in person, the protocol also stops occurring as frequently. In other words, when the analyst is watching, the teachers are providing frequent praise and less reprimands. When the analyst is not watching, teachers are not implementing the protocol as frequently. So the presence of the analyst is changing the behavior. What do we call that? A, negative reinforcement, B, reactivity, C, positive reinforcement, or D, extinction. Now, it's not going to be negative or positive reinforcement, not just because it's the teacher not being there isn't the consequence, but we also know the behavior has stopped, right? And reinforcement maintains or increases behavior. So we can immediately remove reinforcement. Extinction might explain it, but we don't know what the analyst was doing when the staff were doing the protocols correctly. All we know is the analyst was there, behavior was happening, analyst wasn't there, behavior changed. That is an example of reactivity, when behavior changes in response to the presence of a stimulus, typically a person or observer. A grocery store employee learns to greet customers with welcome during training shifts with a supervisor. A week later, the employee independently greets customers during regular shifts without a manager present, even without direct prompts. What concept is demonstrated? So concept question. Concept is basically an idea or a term, right? What concept are we talking about? We have a grocery store employee. They learned to greet customers with welcome. Whenever you see this idea that we're learning or somebody is learning something, and then we go into a different environment, right? So during training shifts, and then a week later, they go to regular shifts without the manager present, we've got to start thinking generalization, right? Because the behavior is happening outside of that learning environment. So if you think about A, stimulus generalization across settings. Stimulus generalization occurs how? Well, stimulus generalization occurs when the same response occurs across multiple stimuli. However, the setting hasn't changed here, right? Yes, training shifts and regular shifts are different shifts, but the setting is still the grocery store. So we can't pick A. B, response generalization because the greeting changes. Well, we don't know if the greeting changed, right? The grocery store employee greeted them with welcome, and all we know is now they are independently greeting customers even without prompts. We don't know if that greeting changed. All we do know is generalization across people have occurred because the employee learned to greet customers during training shifts, and then a week later, they're still greeting customers during regular shifts. So they're able to generalize what they've learned across not only the training shift customers, but also the regular shift customers. So the concept demonstrated here is generalization across people. A physical therapy assistant wants to measure if elderly clients are standing during a 30-minute balance class. They divide the class into 1-minute intervals and mark yes only if the client stands for the entire minute. Which measurement procedure are they using? Okay, we're looking at a measurement procedure. A physical therapy assistant is measuring if elderly clients are standing during a 30-minute balance class. And not only that, they divide the class into intervals. So as we know, as soon as we see this idea of breaking up a segment or a chunk of time into intervals, now we're thinking discontinuous, some sort of interval or time sampling, right? The kicker here is yes is marked only if the client stands for the entire minute. So what type of measurement involves intervals where it has to happen the entire interval? Is it A, momentary time sampling? With momentary time sampling, we're looking at the behavior occurring at the end of the interval. Here, it has to happen the entire time. B, a partial interval recording. With partial interval, the behavior has to happen at any point during the interval. But it has to happen the whole interval for the entire interval, which makes this whole interval recording. It's in the name, right? The client has to stand for the whole minute, whole interval recording. What is play check? Planned activity check is just a group version of momentary time sampling. Our answer here, which measurement procedure are they using, is C, whole interval recording. A group of customers at a local cafe are offered a loyalty card. For every 9 coffees purchased, they get their 10th coffee free. This reinforcement schedule is a what? So we've got basic reinforcement schedule question, and the reinforcement schedule looks like this. Customers come in, they have a loyalty card. When they purchase 9 coffees, they get reinforced with a free coffee. So every 9 coffees receives reinforcement. Now, is this schedule based on how often somebody responds or does something, or is it based on time? Well, it's based on responses, right? No matter how long or short it takes, when 9 coffees are purchased, the 10th coffee is free. If they purchase all 9 coffees in the same day, it's the same thing as purchasing 9 coffees over 2 months. The time doesn't matter. It's the number of responses. So when they get 9 coffees, they're based on responses, which is a ratio schedule. And then we have to ask ourselves, is that requirement changing? Well, no. It's every single time is 9 coffees purchased. So it's going to be fixed, a fixed number of responses or a fixed ratio schedule. Why is it not variable ratio? Because the number required is not changing. Why is it not an interval schedule? Well, because it's not a time. And of course, A and D are the same, but regardless, we can't pick either, and we should have ruled that out already. So the answer here is C. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shoutout. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.